after the first appointment. So I treat them like Mets, 33 to 40 touches a year. And that's what drives my referral business.
So they give you the referral, and then you make the appointments, and then they call back. How did it go? The guy.
So
follow-up call.
Yeah, I'll have them do a follow-up call and say, hey, you know what? I think it went well. Call and see how it went for them, and see if they have any questions they didn't answer or what their concern is. So oftentimes I'll do that. If I can help understand how I can help that recruit in my first appointment, my conversion rate is going to be pretty high. At the end of the day, I'll say to a recruit, if you don't see that I'm able to help you a lot better than your current broker, then it's not worth us talking a second time. So I'm looking in that first appointment for pain. My favorite question, tell me about your database. Tell me about your database. Okay. Their typical response is, my what? Oh, whoa, you don't know the value of a database? Piece of paper, I start jotting out, how many people on your holiday card list? 200, well, 12 to 2. This is how much business you should be doing with that group. How many referrals did you get from that group this year? Then I'll actually map out a 33 touch for them right there. I'll break it down to how much it's going to cost for the 33 touch and how much business they'll do and what their income will be from that 33 touch. So if I can get to a 33 touch conversation in that first appointment, my conversion with that experienced recruit is probably 50 to 60%. That's the sweet spot. If you get there, you've got them. And then from there, I'll get them to a class. And my training calendar is robust, 50 classes, because I constantly want to have something on the calendar to invite someone to. So based on their pain, hey, I've got a class coming up on Thursday. Would you be interested in coming and checking that out? It'll help you with this particular challenge. And that's, we'll typically have 3, 4, 5 guests at a training class. My sales rallies once a month, 12 to 15 guests typically, without blinking an eye. Okay. Did that answer your question?
Sure.
My average day as a team leader was about 8 to 6. 8 to 6, Monday through Friday. My first, back then was before the 2-10-40. But my OP at the time, Laura Stevens, another brilliant person to meet with if you have a chance to, she held me accountable to 10 appointments a week by the end of my first month.
She's the one in Massachusetts.
Yeah. She's here. I can actually send you her contact info. 10 a week. I would actually, Sundays, if I didn't have my 10, I would go out to public open houses. I couldn't count them as appointments, but at least that way she knew I was doing something additional. Hey, I only got 7 this week, but I met 10 people at public open houses yesterday. I used to go around with cups of coffee, bottles of water, and meet agents at public open houses just so I could show her additional activity. I sweat every Monday morning. Every Monday morning, 10 o'clock, I would sweat because if I didn't have that 10, it was not going to be a comfortable meeting. Fear was important there. I was a high I, she was a high D, and she taught me a lot. That's for sure. But it was 10 was the objective. My old company, if I could get 1 or 2 recruits a month, that was great. So when she said, the expectation is 8 to 10 recruits a month, I'm like, what? That's not possible. And I was averaging that first year, I did 7 a month. The first year. So again, without all the tools we have today. So it was, that was a goal. New launches, as a team leader, I averaged about 15 to 17 appointments a week. That was actually, to me, your highest appointment times should be during the launch phase. And most of my new launches are averaging 50, 60 appointments a month during the launch phase. If they're not, that's a red flag. That's a concern.
Okay. I have a question. Back to your OP experiences.
The team leaders hate that, by the way. Let's go back to team leader.
It can be quite similar to the things that you told them about hiring OPs. I'm a new OP. What would you suggest? What shall I look for in a team leader? What kind of things?
Well, what phase are you at? Are you launched? Are you in the launch phase?
We just approved his license. He's in the launch phase. Mm-hmm. Speaking with
energy.
Okay.
They got to be exciting you during the interview. If you're 20 minutes in the interview and you're looking at your watch, it's the wrong person. If you're an hour, 2 hours into it, wanting more time, and getting in deeper into questions, then to me, it's that blink. If you read Malcolm Gladwell book Blink, it's that first meeting is going to tell you whether or not they're a candidate. Then I'm going to use the process to make sure my gut's right.
Okay.
So I will always follow the process, but typically the process is either reinforcing the blink or not. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't go through the process unless I'm really excited at that first meeting.
Okay.
So I look for someone who's been in the business 3 to 5 years, that's done on average 15 to 25 transactions a year. If they're 3 to 5 years in the business, 15 to 25 transactions a year, then they've got enough general experience to be able to teach, coach, consult, but not too much that the team leader job is a step back.
And when you became OP for the first time, your rookie days as an OP, let's say, what were the mistakes you think you did, or those things that now you're looking back and you say, I wish I did this differently?
My legal documents,
Okay.
my operating agreement.
Okay.
I'm going through.
What about that?
I've got an interesting challenge going on right now, and one that I own because I did not have my operating agreement set up the right way. When it comes to retirement of a member, death of a member, expectations of a member. So if I can go back to my rookie days, I would have very clear expectations with investor covenants that are, in our world, subscription agreements to the operating agreement. So the biggest mistake I made was my legal documents. Because at the end of the day, that's what you have to protect you as an OP. Again, not sure how it works in other countries, but that I would say right up there.
Okay. What else? Anything else coming to mind?
Biggest mistakes?
Not necessarily mistakes, but those things that I did as a new OP and it worked like that, or just the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, the right team leader will make or break you. My first team leader, 5 years, she was a team leader I already knew. We were friends. And when I took on the market center, the first thing was I called her OP and said, hey, would it be okay if I spoke to so and so? And he said, sure, not a problem. She's actually looking for more opportunity. She was a good team leader in a small market. I needed a great team leader in a big market. And the best thing I did there was cast a big vision. I called her up and said, hey, would you have any interest in being team leader of the future #1 market center in the world? She goes, oh, I'm from my state. I've lived in my state my whole life. I went to college in my state. I would never move to your state. That's great. Would you have any interest in having a conversation about being team leader of the #1 market center in the world? And I just cast a big vision. Okay. And that's what encouraged her. She actually moved 200 miles in order to take on the team leader opportunity.
May I challenge you?
No, I'm done. I just said thank you. Okay.
May I challenge you?
Sure.
Yeah. So you said the first thing when you are recruiting someone, an OP, was track record. And then for the team leader is energy, and energy being that in 3 years as an agent, they should be between 15 and 25 transactions, and I can understand otherwise.
Well, they can't lead generate.
So how do you qualify the track record of someone that as an agent in 3 years had made between 15 and 25 transactions?
How do I qualify them?
Yeah, is it a track record that...
Well, first of all, I look for rookies of the year. I don't know if your board does rookies of the year, but that's like consistent hit list of a potential team leader. I ask them to give me, references of people they co-broke. I'll go into my MLS, see who they co-broke with, and I'll give them a call and say, hey, I'm looking at getting into business with so-and-so. I see you did a piece of business with them last year. How was that experience for you? Were they a great person to work with? Were they a great co-broker? If they were a great co-broker, then they're going to be a great recruiter. So I dig into that. I get into their life story. I'm a big fan of life story. Where have they succeeded from birth to today? Where have they failed? Where have they made mistakes? Where have they fallen down and brushed themselves off and got back up? It's interesting. I find that's where OPs make the biggest mistake. They don't spend enough time on that, and they don't do enough reference checking. And because they want that hire so bad.
Or they need that hire.
I've got some of my region OPs been through 16 leaders in the last 7 years. You know, that's going to be a challenge. So I go through that process, and now what I do is regional is I'll go in and I'll have an appointment with them, and this is when they've been through their process, and I'll say, hey, what's the number one expectation of a team leader? Will they say 210-40? You know, what should be your conversion? Do they know it's 4-to-1 goal or better? Has the OP explained that during the interview phase? And if they didn't, then I look right at the OP and I ask for a second, and we step out of the room. And why am I going through this conversation if the person hasn't been set with the right expectations yet? My favorite question to ask a team leader candidate is, hey, if this opportunity doesn't work out, what are you doing next? So I had an OP that 15 to 25 transactions, 3 years in the business, you know, looked like the great person. An hour and a half into the meeting, loved this guy. Like, this guy is going to be good. And I asked him that question. If this doesn't work out, what are you going to do next? He said, probably go get a real job because I can't make any money in this business. And again, I did the look at the OP, and I said, I don't understand. As we were talking, you said you did 17 transactions last year. Well, 15 of them were rentals.
Oh God.
15 of them were rentals. I'm like, yeah, no wonder you're not making any money. So we went, and I had him say a few more times that, you know, he'll have to get a real job because he can't make money in his business. And as a team leader, your job is to recruit people to come into a job where they're unemployed every day. And what they do today determines whether or not they make money. How can you teach them how to make money if you yourself can't make money? So, you know, if you just dig into their transactions and experiences and where did those leads come from? Were they FSBOs expired, or were they sphere of influence? That's going to tell me whether or not they're going to have to cold call or whether they'll build their business through referrals from their agents. You know, so just go into their experience.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think of other mistakes I made. So at this point, my 3 market centers were launched from scratch. That was top 3 in launch. Currently, we're number 28, 29 in the country in profitability. One was one that I took over. We're up 60, 70% in profit in the first 12 months because the culture was there. I just needed to add the systems and the talent. And one was the conversion from Remax, which still has a loss carry forward. A year into it. And that's because I didn't change locations and I didn't do enough of the checking. You know, if I'm going into a new market with a conversion, I'm going to call people in that marketplace. You say, hey, I'm looking to do business with so-and-so. What can you tell me about that company? Have you ever co-broke with them? What would that look like? What did that look like? You know, have you ever just thought of going there? So I'll just pepper agents in that marketplace with what they think of that particular independent company.
Okay. You go back to TL.
Okay?
Because I mean, I could. Okay, so what would you tell us? You know, I'm only 2 months old with TL.
Okay.
So the one thing, if you could tell me, when you recruit the agent, what actually?
Well, go back a step. I think the most important thing for a team leader to do to make them successful is time block.
Okay, yes.
You've got to have an amazing calendar where you're time blocking for lead generation. So now I've already told you 98% of my business was referrals. Why would I need to lead generate? My goal is 5 a day, 5 inside, 5 outside. So I start my day making 5 calls to my agents. Hey, congratulations on that transaction. Are we doing everything we can to support you? Hey, congratulations on that new listing. So I'm calling my agents, congratulating them, celebrating something with them, and then asking who they know that I should be in conversation with. So if I make 5 good calls to my agents, I'm going to get at least 3 referrals and get at least my 2 appointments. So
About 5 calls a day with you to your agents.
to my existing agents.
Okay.
So that's how I developed that. So,
Inspiring them, and you know, just to get the connection.
yep. So build a relationship there to get the referrals. I then time block for God minutes. So if I'm making calls from 9 to 10:30, from 10:30 to 11, I'm time blocked for God minutes. So I come out to my Dofi and say, who needs me? and she'll give me a list. So-and-so was looking for you, this is what they need. So-and-so's looking for you, this is what they need. And then I spend a half hour reconnecting with those agents. Hey, I understand you're having a problem. How can I help you? And I spend 30 minutes with the got a minutes. Hey, you got a minute? And then from there, I'm going to teach something. And I'm going to spend, typically 11 to 1 as a team leader teaching a class of some kind. And then my afternoon is going to be appointments. From 1 to 2:30, 3 to 4:30 are appointments. Back in the office for reconnecting with my staff. And then follow up from 5 to 6. So that's
how many new actually appointments a day?
at least goals 2. Now some days I'll have to do 3 because Fridays, as a team leader, I didn't do recruiting appointments. Friday mornings I spent consulting with my ALC members, meet my ALC members. And then Friday afternoon I have an intake plan for experienced agents. So if you're a capper, you've got 30 minutes with me every Friday. For 2 months, and then we go to every other week, down to once a month, down to quarterly. So that way they know when they come on board, they've got that time with me every week for the first 2 months to get them up to speed. A half capper, I've got an expectation of meeting with them. So one of the mistakes team leader makes is you recruit someone, then you move on to the next. You've got to have a plan to spend time with those new recruits during the first few months.
Especially if they're cappers. You don't
Especially if they're cappers, and right down to quarter cappers.
What value you add to your campers? What is the value?
Increase their business,
Yeah.
at least 30%. At least.
I mean, what do you talk about? Like MREA?
Well, it's going to be that needs analysis that I did recruiting them. So during the recruiting process, we developed a need. We understood what they needed, why they're coming to Keller Williams, and where they want to go. So from that is the plan. We have to create their mission statement, their vision statement, their 33 touch plan. Maybe it's building a team, hiring their first admin. So whatever it is I committed to helping them with during the recruiting process, that's what we're focused on. It's going to take a day a week for the first few months, then twice a month, then quarterly in order to help them go there. My best recruit was a $42 million RE/MAX agent. First year with us, he went from 42 to 63 million. He'll do 110 to 120 million this year. And it was all by getting the right people in the right seats in order to help them grow his team.
You typically recruit by the book, then probably your solutions are by the book too. You probably go.
Well,
business, right?
it's either MREA or Shift. I mean, those are my 2 tools. Whatever they need, it's going to either be MREA or Shift, or if the life is a train wreck, the one thing. So I mean, again, I don't recreate the wheel. I don't do anything creative. I use the tools I have.
At one point, probably for that guy who has a big business.
Keep in mind, that guy, I still meet with every Monday morning at 7:30 for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Because he's my. What I'm doing with him is I'm building his retirement plan. In the next 18 months, he'll retire. We've already got his replacement in line, and his replacement's going to pay him about $2 million over the next 7 years as a retirement package. So, what I'm trying to do there is send a message to all the top agents that are going to be looking to retire at some point that we are the place to come for the golden parachute, not just because of profit share or ownership, but because I help you build the business you can sell.
They get the coaching.
Yeah. He also asked him, in order to meet with me that consistently, you've also got to be in MAPS coaching, because I'm not a coach, I'm a consultant.
Yeah.
So he's got to do that so I can then plus what MAPS is doing.
But when you were team leader, who's just related to that? That's why. You said, okay, recruiting process, you understand the need, and now after the recruitment, you still have to be there. Mm-hmm. And you said you were doing it even for not only for cappers, but all the recruitments that you were doing when you were team leader.
Everyone producing.
Okay.
How much time depends the level. So if it's someone that is a capper, it's weekly for the first 2 months. If someone's a half capper, it's probably once, twice in the first month. And then, what I know now, then I hand them off to my assistant
How
team
much
leader.
of your weekly time does it take in total, this activity, half capper, this, that? Because a lot of people.
Half a day. Well, keep up, but I'm weaning them off.
Okay.
So if I'm recruiting one capper a month, we okay?
Everybody's to TL to OP.
Yeah, the team leaders are kicking.
No, that was for TL.
Well,
You blew our minds up.
Yeah,
This
People are in
question,
time mission right now.
yeah. So again, if I'm recruiting a capper a month, which is to me is the minimum expectation of a team leader, well then I'm only juggling 2 to 3 cappers at a time on a Friday, because 2 months they transition into twice a month into once a month in a quarterly. So again, it's a weaning off process. I got them addicted to me during the recruiting process.
you don't just let them-
and again, knowing what I know now, that half capper would be transitioned to an ATL. The quarter capper would be with a productivity coach. It was actually interesting. The biggest mistake I made as a team leader,
Okay.
I walked into the wrong mastermind room my first 3 months with the company. I went to my very first masterminds, and it was here, in a big room over here. I walked into a room, and everyone's talking about my ATL, my productivity coach, my assistant MC, my director of agent services. And my head went like this. And they said, what's wrong? I said, I've been with the company for 6 weeks. I moved to a different state, and I don't have any of this stuff. And they said, well, how many people in your market center? I said, 110. For me, that's huge. The biggest office in my old company was like 60. They said, well, you're in the room with team leaders with 300 to 500 agents. I was like, so it was what I learned in that first mastermind session that then allowed me to say, okay, I don't have a limit to what I can create. I went back and I said, okay, 125 agents, I need a director of agent services. 175, I need a productivity coach. 225, I need an ETL. And it's all because I walked in the wrong room that first month. So what blew my mind also, unleashed my mind, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it gave me a picture. So now it's what's that model? When do you hire and who? Invest in people before you invest in space. Someone taught me that early on. I'd rather have great staff than huge space. So I was operating 180 agents out of 3,700 square feet before I expanded. So again, keep in mind, it's less than what I suggest people do now, 4,000 to 6,000.
Yeah.
We're 3,700 square feet with about 180 agents in it. Because I invested in staff first to give them all the support I could. Now I've got 13,000 square feet, because I invested in my people first. Director of agent services is actually my biggest retention person. The people stay with our company and bleed for our company because my director of agent services is that amazing.
What was your ratio of turnover?
My turnover is 30%. But what we turn over are the inexperienced that don't make money. I can count on one hand the number of cappers I've lost in the last 7 years, 8 years. We don't lose cappers. We don't lose cappers unless, I fired a few. I fired my fair share. I probably fired 5 or 6. But
Why did you fire them?
reputation, service. I had one guy, 6 months, complaints from co-brokers, buyers, sellers. I tried coaching him to improve. I couldn't. So I gave him his 27 listings back and asked him to go interview somewhere else. So typically it's reputation or service. I've got someone right now. He'll do 200 transactions this year. And I'm currently questioning whether or not I'm going to stay in business with him. His team does about 3 caps to the market center, but he has service issues.
Okay.
So again, it's 200 transactions a year. It means I've got 200 opportunities to tick off other agents. I don't look at it, market share, 200 transactions. I look at it as 200 people possibly saying they don't want to be in business with KW.
If he's having so many transactions, how does it relate to having service issues?
Bank owned. He does a lot of bank owned. So he's got relationships with banks. So he gets, he's servicing 100 listings at any given time, which is just a hard business to manage. So I don't know if you guys get to that in your countries, but in here, it's New Jersey, we're still the 3rd highest state in the country when it comes to shadow inventory. We've got homes that aren't even foreclosed yet, and we're in a good market. So if it would take 2 years still to weed out all of our pre-foreclosed homes. So it's a unique challenge for people like that.
Yeah,
You
going
were
back
gonna
to
ask?
your schedule as a team
As a team leader?
Yeah.
Back to you.
You said that you would train every day between 11 and 13 and 1 p.m. Would you train only to campers or to everybody?
In the beginning, I would train to everybody. I try to do 3 classes a week for newer agents, 1 class a week to the growth agents, and 1 great class a month to the top agents. So 3 a week, 1 a week, 1 a month. So that was kind of what I created as a team leader in order to manage that time. That way, I'm doing something quality for everybody. As a launch, you're teaching every day as a launch. You are the training calendar. By 70, 80 agents, I'm going to find 1 or 2 market center faculty that I can develop in order to help me teach. By 125, director of agent services that'll help teach. Productivity coach, ATL that'll all help teach. So now, with a mature market center, my team leader should only be teaching once a week. Mature market center, my team leader should be teaching once a week because they